My first trial was a rejection. They said that I lack business knowledge and I didn't do enough idea validation. I decided to become a psychologist at the age of 10. Dissociation is where you're physically present, but your mind is elsewhere.
Welcome to the Immigrant Founder, a series by Infinitum Education about the people who move countries to build companies. Today, a clinical psychologist who spent years helping other people through trauma and crisis moved from İzmir to the UK, earned an Innovator Founder visa, and is now building Crown Me. Bilge, welcome to the show.
Sebastian, this is a very nice intro. Thank you for having me.
No, absolutely. Thank you for joining us in this, our second episode of the Immigrant Founder. And Bilge, I would love for you to start sharing about your move from İzmir to London. What do you remember the most about this transition?
I actually moved to London twice. First for my master's in clinical psychology. I done it in London South Bank University. I unfortunately finished it during COVID. And when I was trying to find a job here, I was unlucky due to COVID and there was many less opportunities than usual. Then I went back. I started working in İzmir at a private practice as a clinical psychologist. And during my years there, I realized a gap, especially around dissociation, and I wanted to fill this gap. My brother-in-law, who is also the co-founder of GroundMe, is our technical person. And he was always telling me, if you think that I can be helpful to you in any way, making an app, and if you need any digital help, let me know. And when I realized that there was a gap in terms of tools, digital tools for supporting dissociation, we started to think about this business idea together. And then I applied for a startup visa and moved here. When I moved here, the transition was because it wasn't very new to me living in London. The second time was so much easier. And I had the necessary network around psychology when I moved back, through my peers in my course, through my professors in my course. And I had the necessary knowledge to work on dissociation. But what I was lacking was the business knowledge, because as a psychologist, I am an expert in psychology, and then I done a master's in clinical psychology, which is very far away from business and having a business knowledge, which actually affected my first round of applying startup visa. My first trial was a rejection. They said that I lack business knowledge and I didn't do enough idea validation. And I didn't know at the time what idea validation is. Then I go through business programs, incubator programs, how to build your own startup workshops, and gain necessary business knowledge, then reapply, then moved successfully via the startup visa route. And last year, I moved from startup visa to Innovator Founder visa. Now I'm about to complete my first year in Innovator Founder visa.
What's the difference between the startup visa and the Innovator Founder visa?
The startup visa is just 2-year visa, and it's now gone. Now it's finished. No one can apply for it. And within that 2-year, it gives you the opportunity to figure out if your business would work in the UK, build a startup, give your self a try. And if you are successful, then you would apply for Innovator visa back then. Then during the time I needed to apply for my extension, it became Innovator Founder visa. This is why I moved on to it.
Okay.
It's not too far away from Innovator Founder. Startup visa also requires your idea to be innovative, that is new to the UK, that you will bring something financially and in many ways beneficial to the UK market.
Yes, and also a bit of knowledge on business, right? As you were saying, you had to go through some training. Yeah, that's another one of the questions I wanted to ask you. You told me that there was a moment when you were in a spirit that you were thinking about, when you started thinking about this idea with your brother-in-law.
You can call him my co-founder.
Your co-founders, yes. But yeah. And I wanted to ask about, when did you first start thinking that you might want to help people in a different way besides your clinical work? What is this first time that you start thinking about the idea behind GroundMe?
I decided to become a psychologist at the age of 10. It's a bit of an early age to decide your future occupation. I always had big passion about helping other people. And being a psychotherapist, working one-to-one with clients allowed me to work maximum in a healthy bracket 25 hours a week. But when you have a tool that you can help people, while you can, of course, use it with your own clients, it can reach to millions of people and help millions of people, which is a greater scale. This is how first I realized everybody. Let me explain what dissociation is. Dissociation is where you're physically present, but your mind is elsewhere. And it is actually on a spectrum. On a daily basis, it can look like just zoning out from time to time. But when it becomes more frequent and intense, you might start to find yourself losing hours of your day just looking blankly to the wall, or feeling unfamiliar towards your environment, feeling unfamiliar towards yourself. So even though on a daily basis it is something looking like, oh, it's not that important, but it can become very important very easily. And I realized to some level, all of my clients experiences dissociation. And when it happens in the therapy room, I can help them because I'm next to them. But when it happens in between sessions, when they're outside of the therapy room, there was no tool. When I searched App Store, Google Store, web pages to have a carry-on dissociation tool with them, which they can measure and manage their dissociation, there was none. And it quite shocked me, actually. This is how we decided there was a big gap that needs to be filled, which would help many clients, many clinicians, and people who get more knowledge and self-aware about dissociation. And it would be also an opportunity to help more than 25 people a week.
Fantastic. As a person that spends most of her professional life thinking about well-being, how has becoming a founder yourself changed the way you think about your own well-being?
It's a great question. Becoming a founder affects your well-being negatively for some time. I'm not gonna lie. It's a bit, because when you are the boss and when you want to do things, make the world a better place, help many people, it means you need to give a bit from yourself. I, for some time, lost my work and life balance and it's sometimes hard to stay same level of motivated on a daily basis. And I am someone who is finding easier to work at nighttime. When I couldn't find that motivation at 10 a.m. in the morning, there were many nights I changed that to 10 p.m. at night and work till 2 a.m. because I knew there are things I need to do in order to help people, but also I wasn't able to do it in the morning. So I just postponed it to night. But if I was working for someone else, I wouldn't have that luxury, working over hours, outside of the hours, but I was able to do it as a founder. It made me work more. I'm not regretting any of it. I'm very happy, but sometimes working a lot and being very happy about it, it can be a well-being problem. So you need to be also taking care after yourself.
Of course, yeah, I can imagine. And that's something you hear a lot from entrepreneurs, right? How it can be a very challenging experience psychologically. And was that something you were expecting, like in terms of the uncertainty or rejection or loneliness, or self-doubt, and the psychological aspect, becoming an entrepreneur? Was it like what you expected it to be, or have you been learning about the challenges of entrepreneurship in a psychological way too?
I've been learning about it. There were some expected difficulties because of my newness in the business industry. There were some concepts that I'm new to. There are some programs that I need to learn that I'm new to. These were all hardship for me. But I think my biggest hardship in being a startup founder is self-discipline. Because when you work with others, when you're working at a clinic, when you work with clients, there is a time that you're working. Or when you are a student, when I'm writing my thesis, I always had deadlines. And that deadlines were decided by someone else, and I need to obey them. But when you work for yourself, you are the deadline. And you need to be really taking yourself seriously as a boss. And I had big difficulty on following my own deadlines. Because of my self-discipline, I realized that my self-discipline is very much driven by other people, by being responsible to other people on a weekly basis. And when you create a product, you are your own deadline. And sometimes I really find it hard. I was expecting more self-discipline from me. Now I'm good about it, but the first year was very hard for me.
Yeah, it's better when you have accountability partners or a team instead of just you setting your own deadlines and goals. Absolutely.
I am lucky on that. I have a co-founder, but he has ADHD, I have ADD. So we both were suffering from the same self-discipline issue, but we learn how to navigate through it.
Very interesting. And when you started actually pitching Ground Me as a formal business, as a product, as an idea, how was that, let's say, personality shift from going to psychologist to founder? When did you start feeling like it was becoming real, like you were actually becoming the founder of a startup?
When I first got the startup visa, it got real. And when we first won the some amount of money from a pitching competition, when we won that money, it also became very real. As two co-founders, we had a very nice preparation journey for that pitching competition, where we used both of our strong knowledge. He's more better with numbers and digital knowledge. I'm good with people and psychology, and we gather our strong suits together and created that pitch. But also I was the one who's delivering it. That pitching competition happened in my old university. Even though we created the presentation together, that was a 3-minute pitch and I needed to give it. I realized I have public speaking anxiety when I need to do it that big of a crowd in a competition. I was giving presentations in my masters in here, but it was just to my peers, to people that I already know. And after a couple of years giving a bigger speech to a bigger crowd, it was very nerve-wracking. Then I realized I need to work on it more. I started attending some Toastmasters events, which is a community where you can improve your public speaking. I created some opportunities for myself, speaking with people, small businesses. Can I give a speech to you about wellbeing, about dissociation in the workplace? I don't need any money. I just need to test myself. Can you give me that opportunity? And day by day, month by month, I become bigger. But I think your original question was, where is that shift from being a psychologist and founder? As a psychologist, I am calm. I am there. I am present. I am focused on you as my client. But when you are the founder in front of a whole crowd, everything is on you. Every eye is on you. And that shift has made me a bit nervous at times, but now I'm used to it.
Interesting. Yeah, it's something you train and you develop, and yeah, you become better and better at it the more you practice it.
Yes, yes, definitely. Practice is very key when it comes to public speaking.
Yeah. In this sense, when you went through the process for the visa, right? Both times, the startup and innovator founder visa, what did you feel you most needed to demonstrate in the process?
The first and the biggest part was my business knowledge. I needed to show that I am knowledgeable enough to run a business. I'm not only a psychologist, but I have enough business knowledge to do the accountancy, the calculations, to understand the financial background of things, the marketing side, to do 5-year, 3-year plans, to be a scalable business and understand what it means. It requires a good amount of business knowledge. And that was the issue when I especially first applied for the startup visa. They said, we cannot see enough idea validation. We cannot see your business background here for us to be believing in that you would be successful in running a business. Then I went back. I done customer survey with 100 people living in London. If they would come across with an app about dissociation, if they would use it. I done a focus group study with 5 a mental health practitioner living in London. They said, this is very needed. I would definitely use it with my clients. This is absent in our industry. And the idea validation part was done. Then I attend incubator programs and startup educative programs in order to get certifications, learn about the process, and prove that now I have enough knowledge about how to run a business, even though I never run a business before. And it was enough for me to get the startup visa. When I was changing from startup visa to innovator founder visa, there was a point where you attend an interview, you submit everything, all the plans, all the questions they ask, and then if you pass that stage, they invite you to an interview. And one of the interview questions I get asked was, how is your product is different than the ongoing mental health apps out there? There are many mental health apps out there. But I was able to knowledgeable about the scientific background of the difference between how to treat a dissociation and how to treat other mental health apps, and how these differences is needed in order to work specifically people suffering from dissociation. I was able to answer that question. There was some business related questions too, but it wasn't as big of an issue as before when I was applying for the startup, because I was running the business for 2 years at that point. But there was some questions that I received about the how you would run a business type of questions, and what is your long-term ambitions about the business. And funnily enough, I met my interviewer face to face at an event that my endorsement buddy prepared last summer. I approached him and I said, I'm not sure if you remember me, but you interviewed me last year. I got the visa. I'm continuing on my business. I just wanted to thank you face to face. And he was like, of course, I remember you. You were so passionate about your business and mental health. And usually what we see in those type of people who are so passionate about their own expertise area, they might be sometimes lack of the business part of the things, but you were able to prove that you have the enough knowledge, the business part of the things. And because you were equally good, you were like, yes, she goes on.
That's a great story that you got a chance to meet that person afterwards and to get that feedback, that positive feedback about your passion towards your project. That's very interesting. And
It,
in
it
that
was,
sense,
it,
yeah,
sorry.
I want to ask, so ground me, if I understand correctly, is about helping people be more present. I think the way I see it, entrepreneurship often requires you to be thinking about what comes next, right? I wanted to ask you how you personally balance those two things, being present versus thinking about the future of your company.
I take a step back and I actually use my own product ground me to do some exercises there. Take a deep breath in, look at my environment, engage in my environment, and make myself come back to the present moment and think about what should I do today to make those future plans come true.
Really interesting. I think there is such thing as a healthy balance. Just being present the whole time wouldn't be very healthy. And
No.
thinking about other people in let's say in similar industries or similar positions as you were a few years ago, let's say a psychologist or a doctor or a teacher, someone else in caring professions, it's watching and thinking, I am not really an entrepreneur, but they do feel like they can create something, but they just don't believe it. What would you say to those people that come from caring professions and don't really believe they're entrepreneurial enough?
I've been there. I was this person many times, many days, sometimes still today. I find myself questioning, am I the right person to do this? Then I answer myself, if you find that gap in this industry, if you were able to take the right steps to create this product, then yes, you are the right person. If they are seeing something absent in their industry that would make their day-to-day lives easier, as a carer, as a doctor, and if they are able to do the research, if it's been done before, or if they can have a new look on it, new perspective for it, then well, they are the right person to make this happen. They just need to meet with and co-found maybe with the right people, because business has many sides: marketing, the expertise, the digitalization, everything cannot be happen in one person. It's very hard. If they are able to find the right person to work with or get the necessary help, then they should go on. Everybody can become an entrepreneur. You just need to have the mindset, and changing your own mindset is totally and absolutely up to you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's imagine one of those people are considering the innovator founder visa path, just like you. Is there something you wish you knew about that process before you started that you would like to share with people that are interested in that path?
The idea validation, it's very important. Before actually putting up the research behind it, is very, very important. Before putting up a business plan, you need to be able to see that what you're thinking is really needed or not, and to find your own target group and make some tests with them. This can be in a format of customer survey, a focus group study, but in order to be able to prove the government, the endorsement body, that yes, this is not only my idea, I done the necessary tests, I go and speak with my potential customers, and here are the proofs. I think that it is very important, and it makes a huge change.
Yeah, I think that's a good piece of advice. And I wanted to ask you one last question. From your perspective as a psychologist, are there parts of the whole startup culture that I think that sometimes we celebrate as ambition or hustle, but maybe deserve a little more scrutiny? There may be maybe something a bit toxic about the startup culture.
I wouldn't call it toxic, but there are parts that it's unhealthy. You need to be giving your day and night. For some time, yes, but how long is very important. Learners. For some time, it is understandable, but for long term, it is not sustainable.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I think finding a soft spot is very important in continuity.
I agree. And I think all these pieces of advice that you've been sharing will be very helpful for our audience and for anyone that has good ideas, good intentions, and that is just looking for the next step on how to scale those solutions or make them come to life. So I really want to thank you for your time. That is the
Thank you.
Immigrant Founder. And if this was useful for anyone in the audience, please follow the show. There's a new founder story every episode from all of us at Infinitum Education. See you on the next one. So thank you very much.
Thank you.